Oh, hello. Oh my goodness. I just turned the camera on without warning Nat.
So I was halfway off to fucking Neverland.
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Rough Report. Just gonna do the old slow volume down there.
It's very retro.
What's very retro?
The fade out.
Oh, the fade out.
Yeah. Maybe I'm.
No, that's something the kids just invented. Is the music fade out?
Well, I probably
Newfangled technology. You know.
I probably just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
They weren't able to do that in the past. Before, theme song musicians would just have to gradually play quiet. And that's how they.
That would be adorable if you're on a bongo or something. Like, yeah. I dig it.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome to another week of the show. We're doing it again, another week in a row. Aren't you so proud of us, everybody?
We're pretty proud of us. So
I'm impressed.
someone
with
has
myself.
to be.
Yeah, yeah. I got the light above the desk fixed, so it's not as dark as last episode. In fact, now it's like. Now I feel like it's too much light. It's too much light on my face. I don't know how these people who like actually do like talk shows handle those lights. Like I don't know how they do it. If there's maybe a certain way that they angle them so it doesn't stab them in the face. But
Well, I do have a couple Edison bulbs for my antique lamps that I've rewired, so I can always do one of those.
yeah. But still, like they use the big bright lights on TV.
I don't know. People are crazy.
I don't know how they do it. I like if I was like a newscaster, well, I guess I just wouldn't be one, because if I tried to be one, I'd have to wear like sunglasses while I'm reading the news or some shit.
Yeah. Well, now I can see why we don't quit our day jobs. Can't handle light.
Yeah.
Can't manage a schedule.
Freaking
We're just barely
vampire.
hanging on.
I have the complexion of a vampire and my eyes' response to sunlight as a vampire.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do go outside, I swear to God. Believe it or not.
Yeah, between home and work. That's a block.
Yeah. It's yeah. See? All right, so what story we covered first? We were just going over what stories we were watching or going to talk about today. You want to talk about the Timmy's one?
Yeah.
All right. This is actually really funny. Nat just told me about this one today.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't hear how this wasn't a thing, how people aren't talking about it.
Yeah. So, do you remember back in the day when Tim Hortons was tasty and just seemed like a good place to go. They had good value for their offerings, and you had the experience of the roll up the rim to win.
Read it. Here, I'm just gonna make that a bit.
Yeah.
Shrink that down.
Yeah. So, as is tradition in Canada, Tim Hortons built up a brand and has sold their souls to multinational. And so that multinational takes for granted Canadians' love of nostalgia and has just gutted everything that we used to like about Tim Hortons.
Yep.
It's no secret that they've changed who their coffee suppliers were. It's no secret that they've changed the way they did their donuts. They used to actually be baked in store.
You used to have an actual baker, not a guy who just basically throws it
in the defroster.
And they get fluffed up. It's not really baking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it used to be a cool, legit thing. You used to have you buy the cup, and we knew at the time even that if you wanted a better chance at a good prize, you're better off buying a large or an extra large coffee. So we knew that was part of the scheme, that you probably weren't going to win a truck from a small or an extra small coffee. But now, in amongst other such things as getting rid of the kinds of donuts that everybody loves, they no longer have the prize on the cup, which from like an environmentalist standpoint, I get it, kind of, but that's not why
wait.
they're
I don't know
doing
what
it.
you mean about the environmentalist standpoint on that. Like, what do you mean by that?
Just people buying so many more coffees just for the disposable cup to see if they won or not.
Well,
But
like,
that's not why they did it.
That's what. But the people are still buying the cups anyways, right?
Either way,
Their cups are still awful for the environment. That's all I'm trying to point out.
they are.
That's all I'm saying.
Sincerely, they are.
Yeah.
But so now, when you enter into the contest, you don't have the physical roll up the rim, and I can appreciate that. After a pandemic, workers probably don't want to deal with.
Get in closer.
How am I not? Is this what you mean?
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
You're like you're so at the edge of the screen. Yeah.
So I get what they. So I understand that the workers on the front lines probably don't want to deal with a soggy cup lip that someone probably chewed on before they gave it to them.
See, that part I get. That part I totally get.
I get that.
Yeah, that's legit.
But again, that's not where they're doing it.
Yeah, that's
So now apparently you get like an email to let you know if you won or not. And a bunch of folks got the email. Oh, here we go. 500,000 customers got an email.
Yeah, it was not like a few.
Yeah, not a couple.
This was not a small oopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 500,000 people got an email saying that they got the boat. And then whoopsie doodle 24 hours later found out, no, you didn't get the boat. And what does Tim Hortons do to make up for this gaffe? Nothing.
Yeah.
Not even a free play or a coffee or a donut. Just be free to go fuck yourselves.
Yeah.
Is their response to their client, to their customer base. So, fuck.
It would be really like let's explore this for a second. It says in the article that the boat is worth $64,000. Okay, that's how much this boat is worth. $64,000, and so no small amount of money on its own. But let's times that by 500,000. I have it here. I already did the multiplication. $32 trillion.
Where's my elephant?
Yeah. So you Simpsons fans out there, you'll get that one. Yeah. $32 trillion. I almost went for the B word out of habit. But no.
Yeah.
Trillion is how much this would actually cost. I'm sure if they had to get 500,000 of these boats, if they had to like order 500,000 boats,
I mean,
they'd probably get a bit of a price break.
They're not.
I
mean,
they
they're
would
not
have
paying
to pay
retail.
The retail.
They're
Yeah,
not paying
exactly.
retail for the singular boat either way. But
and the boat they're giving away is probably like factory seconds too. It's probably like you know what I mean. It was used as like a showboat at trade shows and stuff.
Or they got it from
that.
like a police auction.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if it would go that far. Police auction. It's like an obviously used
with bullet holes.
Rusted.
Yeah.
There's still a kilo of cocaine in
I was
like
about to say, like you take it out the first time. You're like, oh, I wonder if there's an extra life vest on this thing, and you're like, oh, it's cocaine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, so I think the main takeaway is Canada is such a laughable place with that's basically 5 corporations in a trench coat.
Yeah.
None of these big business, and they absolutely operate on taking advantage of our sense of nostalgia, because it's all stick and no carrot anymore.
Yeah.
Like no one offers us a carrot.
Maybe it's something weird about our generation, or like maybe I don't even know if it's a generational thing, because I can maybe think of people my age that still get swept up in this like weird sense of Canadiana. You know what I mean? Like the like the pseudo patriotism. this idea, this like fun, sort of hokey idea of what this country's supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
But that doesn't
and
exist.
wrapping it up in the brand that is Tim Hortons, no
Yeah.
less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we're outliers on just being like, that's so dumb.
Well, it's like
I'm
if-
not buying it. You
I
know?
mean, maybe if it was owned by Canadians, like maybe I would
Yeah.
still hold
Yeah,
out something.
There's still be something to, yeah.
But if we, go to are we talking about grocery stuff again this week or not?
Well, the maybe a little bit later, yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
Depends.
Galen's Canadian. He's a fucking cunt.
Yeah. Doesn't, yeah.
So I can't say.
Actually, one could argue that Canadian owners are just as bad, if not worse, than any other type of owner.
Yeah, I mean, like the veil is off, the curtain's down. It's all assholes behind. None of them care about us. They will all extract as much wealth, and they will grind your bones to get it if they need to. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, there it
about
is.
us.
There's 64,000 there. Tim Hortons, it says there's no merit to a proposed class action lawsuit regarding emails it sent out in error to participants in its popular roll up the rim to win promotion. The LPC Avocat Incorporated has launched the lawsuit claiming that about 500,000 customers received an email saying that they had won a boat. Tim Hortons blames the email being sent on human error. I wonder, like, whose fault it was, like what it would be like to be that employee who are like, yeah, by the way, you did this,
I would be that employee.
Yeah. yeah.
I'd be like, you know what?
Damn
you
right.
decide, you
And
decide
I
I'm
do
not
it
getting.
again.
Yeah. Decide I'm not getting a bonus this year. Well, guess
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
55,000 people
I
are
mean,
gonna
yeah, I have no reason to
500,000.
believe that working at Tim Hortons, even at some sort of head office
Yeah.
type setting, is great. Yeah, it says it believes the lawsuit has no merit and it will address through the court.
They
I
could've
don't know,
just-
man. Like, you can't just tell people they won something when they participated in a contest. There's
Especially
something about
an
a
online
legal
contest.
yeah, there's like this is essentially with these contests you're engaging
Mm-hmm.
in a legal contract. This is a legal agreement that you buy this product, and by doing so,
No.
you are entered into the contest.
Yeah, and so there being a way for a human error to mistakenly tell people 510,000 people they won, that tells me that a human could easily tell everyone they didn't win anything.
And
Ever.
even like offering some level of compensation to be like, look, we can't give 500,000 people freaking boats, okay?
But here's a coffee. Like, guaranteed, if you offered people anything, they'd be
Almost
so
anything.
much less
Because again,
pissed off.
we referenced this last week with the freaking instead of having a class action lawsuit against Loblaws for the price fixing of bread,
Yeah.
they gave everybody $25 gift cards, and that wasn't even everybody. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people just didn't get them. You
Yeah.
know, even people that like went through the effort of properly requesting them.
I'm pretty
and
sure
what
I
have you.
didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what is this? What is this? Stupid.
Yeah. But also, like, all these online contests and stuff to begin with, how does the consumer know that anyone wins anything? So, and just as the trust is further broken between consumers and corporations
Yeah. How do you like know that there is like for real
for anybody.
a winner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In a lot of cases, I think like historically, Tim Hortons is like, showcased the people that have won.
Yeah, but how
the
far
big
historically are we
prizes.
going to go?
Yeah. Yeah. So like, offering people like anything, even not a boat, but like
Donut.
I even think that's too small. If I was told I was
A
won a
pizza.
car, and then they were like, "Hey, you could have one of our shitty donuts instead," I'd be like, I would prefer nothing. I would prefer if you told me to go fuck myself.
Or
because
our
the donut
shitty-
is somehow a worse insult.
Or our shitty pizza that for some reason we've decided is on our menu
Wait
now.
a second. Okay. You're gonna break my brain here. Tim Hortons has pizza now.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
Oh God. When's the last time you've been to a Tim Hortons? When did you see this?
Oh, I did not go to the Tim Hortons to
okay.
find this out.
Okay.
No.
Was this a commercial or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see
All
that.
right, quickly Google it. Do the goggle. Gaga to Google. Anyways, so yeah, they're advertising it like an artisanal pizza of all the
Of course they are.
insane
It's
things.
what says Canadians like artisanal pizza.
Like,
It's so distinctly Canadian.
yeah,
Right?
like of all the insane things. Yeah, see if you
I
you should show even just the Google search.
Yeah,
Like,
even just this this headline here, because like this is like high praise by Tim Horton standards, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, and the pop up here.
Shut up.
Tim Hortons' new pizza doesn't totally suck.
Well, I'm sold.
It tastes slightly better than the box it comes in, evidently. And it's like, well, like, of course, it's pizza. None, like, there hardly is any pizza out there that totally sucks. Like, there's pizza that's definitely shittier than others.
Yeah.
But pizza is like that kind of food where it's like, okay, you got cheese and sauce on it. You'd really have to try hard to fuck that up completely.
Well, like,
right?
even as they say, even bad pizza is better than no pizza.
Yeah. Generally speaking, if you are hungry, bad pizza is still like, oh, great pizza. You know, like you'll get it in you.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I've never encountered a pizza where I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of shitty, but it's like I'm still enjoying it because like cheese on bread and sauce. Like again, you'd have to go to great lengths to make it totally suck. So like, as far as I'm concerned, this is definitely not a winning review.
No.
For this thing.
Yeah.
And like, not to get all like high marketing brain here, like I'm not a marketing expert by any means, but it's just like it's so funny to watch like this transition that Tim Hortons has gone through over the years, where it's like coffee shop and bakery to
burgers.
to
Remember
like,
when they did burgers?
They did do that for like some sort of brief period, right? And that's like brain breaking. Now you got pizza, and it's like the soup and sandwiches even made sense because you're talking like cafe, deli.
Well, you're talking about
vibes,
going
right?
from like breakfast to brunch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So coffee and sandwiches
Sure.
make sense, especially like for the kinds of people who might go to a Tim Hortons, overnight sort of deal, right? It made sense.
Yeah. Then they started doing like French fries and like the wedges that were freaking disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's like do you guys even know what your brand is anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
You know what pairs well with your flagship product that is coffee? Fucking pizza. Yeah, that's the combo everybody's reaching for.
Yeah.
And I know there's a few freaks out there going, "Well, yeah, I like it." Shut up.
You don't
just
count.
Shut your filthy mouths.
Yeah, just cram it with your disgusting pizza and wash it down with your fucking bullshit coffee. You bastards.
Yeah. So, speaking of Tim Hortons.
Oh, that's a nice segue.
Tim Hortons' favorite pitch man, Dougie Ford.
We will never forget.
Yeah.
It was just so weird.
Yeah.
How could we forget?
I mention this to people every now and then, where I'm like, you remember when Doug Ford at the beginning of the pandemic was talking about, like basically pitching how
Shilling.
shilling. Tim Hortons like breakfast sandwiches and stuff like that, like interjected into his like COVID safety. This is the COVID measures Ontario is going to take.
Yeah.
And then like interspersing a Tim Hortons commercial in the middle of it, and it was really weird. So like, I mentioned this the other day to some people, and they didn't remember this or didn't know what I was talking about. And I've like, how is this a thing that flew under people's radar?
It's not the Mandela effect. I think that
No, it really happened.
it so happened.
We watched it.
We watched it.
It was real, goddammit.
We
But
are
yeah,
in the worst
like,
timeline.
Well, it just sort of goes to show to me, like, this is totally an aside here, but it really, it just really goes to highlight how little Canadians, like, kind of by and large pay attention to Canadian media and Canadian news.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of people that probably just, like, didn't watch any of that kind of content where it's like you're locked inside, right? Or you're about to be locked inside. There's about to be big news from the leader of Ontario, and you're just totally like, yeah, you know what? Somebody will fill me in. Right? I think that's like the mentality a lot of people took. Because, it feels like a thing that this is something, everybody should watch and be engaged with. Even though you could be one of those people who's like, I hate the news, I hate the government, it's all bullshit, la la da da. But still, you'd want to probably watch the thing about the COVID precautions, right? Like, this is going to immediately impact you.
Yeah,
you
like,
probably want to know.
Yeah, like, can you go outside? Can you go to the gym?
Seems like things you'd want to be engaged with.
Like,
that's all I'm saying. But yeah, I feel like I feel like. When I talk about, like, Canadian stuff in politics to people in real life, there's this sense of, outsivedness where it's just like, I don't really pay much attention to that stuff.
Yeah, pay attention to anything. Please pay attention to anything. For the love of all
like
things.
This is a thing I'm surprised more people. Like, I don't hear more people talking about, right? His controversial project. Now, do you know what controversial project this is? Just like offhand, before I even go into any further detail.
Yeah.
Like, I bet maybe perhaps the green belt popped into your head, maybe. Or maybe you're going to guess right.
Maybe it's the Highway 413.
And maybe you're going to guess right. And it has to do with the development of the new spa at Ontario Place, a big privately owned spa, right where Ontario Place currently is. Seems like a really stupid, wacky idea, doesn't it?
He's just trying to get his Ferris wheel.
Yeah, like it really is.
No,
he'll
honestly,
be forever
like,
bitter about the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, and this guy, he's trying to do everything from Mike Harris's playbook of selling off public assets to private corporations in order to line his pocketbooks. I mean, he's doing everything in his power to do as much of that as he can, and he's getting away with it because people aren't fucking paying attention.
Yeah.
It's like, we will laugh until we die about that fucking Tim Hortons fresh cracked egg on his breakfast sandwich and stuff.
Have you had these new breakfast sandwiches? They're great.
Yeah, so I will die on the hill that was hilarious, but that is so the least of any of it. Holy shitting dick nipples. Like, he is selling out our healthcare, he is selling out our public land, he is selling out everything he can. And yes, I understand that this is a very Canadian thing for him to do. As we've established. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I'm trying to find that first headline that I was looking at. There it is. Okay. Sorry. Choking to death over here. All right. So, shocking cost. What is the shocking cost? How much is it going to cost taxpayers to build a fucking privately owned spa that the majority of taxpayers would never be able to afford to attend?
Right. Like, in a cost of living crisis.
Yeah. This is going to be like little rich people playground. Mm-hmm. That's what this is supposed to be.
On public land.
On public land.
Taking away from my
to the tune of $650 million, billion. A billion.
No. 650 million.
A million? Oh, okay. Good. I thought I was undershooting it for a second there.
No.
I was like, no, I'm saying the wrong word. It's not trillion either. Yeah, I got tripped up. I'm thinking of the math before. $650 million. I mean, if a liberal ever did this.
Tarred and feathered and run out of town on the rail.
The screaming that would come from right-wing media in this country.
Yeah. In left wing, God willing.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Well, yeah.
Should be fucking
But
like
I'm just saying how people, even how people directly like react to this, like in regular mainstream media, when conservatives do stuff that is like completely insane like this, we have this tendency to do the false neutrality thing where we'll call it controversial. It's controversial. You know, people are talking. There's a bit of a stir. Not this is blatantly bad for people. Like, you know, calling things what they are. Even if you want to editorialize it a bit, there's not a lot of people being loudly editorial. You know what I mean? It's like what you get in the media is this like kind of flaccid tap water stuff.
But then, like all things Canadian, the media also is owned by three corporations.
Three corporations in a trench coat, yes.
Like, for example, Bell Media laying off,
Yeah, we did that video, that video that was talking about, like, kind of the tightness of Canadian media.
Yeah.
On last episode. Go and watch that. I should probably.
I should go and watch that.
You know, the people should go and watch that if you haven't already. I should probably clip that segment too because it's a bit clip worthy. I should start clipping segments in general.
You should.
Is probably a thing I should do. But
yes, I concur.
Anyway, we got off the rails there. Talking about Canadian media and stuff. And it's like, it's one of those things where, you know, Canadian news stories, even including this one, the way we talk about them or the way the media largely tries to sell them is to almost not sell them at all. It's just like they almost are purposely being, this is all very boring. You know, you don't have to trouble your pretty little head about it. You know?
No.
That's the general feeling I get about a lot of like this Canadian media stuff. There's not a lot of like banging of the drum. Well, this at least has a bit of language
but
to
that's
it.
because it's written by Rosie DiMano.
Yeah.
Who is not a good person.
Yeah. Well, she works for the Toronto Star. How good could she be? She's at least right about this. Like he one way or another, he's getting his fucking Ferris wheel mega spa. He wants his big, private, corporate, fancy hoopla, rich people's playground at Toronto's waterfront. And he's going to get it one way or another, and you're all going to pay for it because in true conservative / rich people tradition, they don't gamble with their own money, folks. They never play with your own money.
Yeah, they privatize.
They take yours. They take yours.
They privatize the gains and socialize the losses.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And this is the latest example of it. $650 million. And again, if a conservative did this, even the Toronto Star, which you know everybody would argue has a liberal skew, they'd be talking about it in a little bit of spicier ways than what you're currently seeing.
If a liberal did, yeah.
Yeah, if a liberal did it.
And if an NDP did it, well,
oh yeah,
fuck, everything burned to the fucking
ground. So like you know when you hear that Canadian media has like a leftist liberal skew, it makes it, I have to laugh. I'm sorry. We are so soft on conservatives in this country because I don't know, like there's almost like this paternal weird thing to it where it's like the conservatives of this country are just our special little guy. And, you know, we don't want to do anything to upset him too much because he has a bad temper. And so we got to coddle the baby.
Well, it's also like how in the U.S., how the Democrats are still playing the game as though the Republicans are acting in good faith.
Yeah.
And as though there's any position that they hold that is based in reason and logic.
And conservatives in the country have absolutely picked up on that sort of narrative. They're willing to play this kind of like edgy bully fuck you, get mine
Yeah.
sort of vibe. Well, liberals want to be like Polite and Magoo, and it's just, yeah, yeah. It's almost it gets to the point where you got to say it's purposely ineffectual, and that's a whole other thing, especially when you're talking about Democrats and Biden right now and stuff. But that's kind of getting out there on a on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
Sorry, before we got off the rails there, what were we talking about?
I mean, the mega spa. You haven't yet touched on the chalkboard portion of that.
Yeah. And which leads into another thing that is like equally sort of disappointing. Here, I'll pull this up. So basically, just talking about this is apparently the party of financial responsibility, right? The Conservatives. So they put up this giant black hoarding that's going around this mega spa project. Okay. And people have started writing in chalk on it. A lot of it is like anti this project graffiti. And a lot of it's like, political stuff aimed at criticizing Doug Ford. And of course, what happens pretty much every day after this wall gets filled with chalk is somebody paid with taxpayer dollars comes and cleans it all up again, because that was the smartest way to do this. Make it a big blank sheet for everybody to color on, and then, clean it up every day. That makes a lot of sense. Sure.
Yeah. Just
Anyway.
clown shoes. Just clown shoes all over the friggin' place.
Yeah. Again, party of fiscal responsibility, folks. But on top of that, it happens to mention a few interesting tidbits here too, where it mentions, opponents of Doug Ford's mega spa at Ontario Place have faced a series of setbacks over the past few months. Interesting way of putting this, really, setbacks. I don't know if you'd necessarily call somebody just completely turning their back on being opposed to this project a setback. I mean, I guess it's a setback for the people that remain opposed. First, Premier Ford showered Olivia Chow, the mayor of Toronto, with Christmas presents to the tune of $9 billion, reversing course and agreeing to upload responsibility to the province for maintaining the Gardiner Expressway and Don Valley Parkway, two very important arteries in the Toronto transit system. Like that is, roads, not TTC or public transit. Plus funding for transit and shelter for the unhoused, though much of this is still dependent on the feds kicking in matching taxpayer cash as well. So in exchange for getting some level of relief that is way overdue, and not nearly enough, mind you. I mean, $9 billion for this is not a long-term solution. But what is long-term is the spa going up on Ontario Place. So it's such short-sightedness on Olivia Chow's part that, we're going to give away all of this to get a meager $9 billion of relief that's going to be spread around throughout various things that need it. And you could say it's better than not getting anything at all. And it's like, is it better than, this thing that's going up at the waterfront? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
And that's such a fucking frustrating thing, is that, the $9 billion doesn't go far, because you need to think when you're a government, you need to think long term, right? And so just all of these short term solutions are just so fucking maddening, because it means like they can be dismantled upon the next election.
Yep.
Like just how Rob Ford canceled what was it called? Transit City? Subway City? Oh, fuck.
I don't remember the exact verbiage.
Yeah, anywho.
I mean, they squandered so much when it comes to like doing something about public transit. in general.
Yeah, but just
between the two of those idiots. But
yeah,
anyway.
it was Transit City. But yeah, so it was just 2010 that he dismantled it, and I mean, it would have been running by now.
Yeah.
Like
Would have had it by now.
yeah.
And this is the stuff that you got to understand. Like long term, when conservatives are in power in this country, it's lose, 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 and they install very permanent things that are damaging and hold us back over the long term.
Yeah, because it's so much more costly to fix things after they're dismantled.
Yes.
So did we talk about this specifically last time about Bob Ray and how it costs a lot less to gear up and gear down? It costs a lot less to do Ray days than to like gear up and gear down all those all that staffing. Did we talk about that last time?
Yeah, well, I think we talked about that before, just not last time. Okay. But yeah, that's the same sort of idea, though. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like with the in keeping with Mike Harris and those dark fucking days, if you want to go to the federal budget and their little minuscule tossing of cash towards.
Well, this is the first thing I wanted to cover in this and highlight what the federal government. This isn't provincial. This isn't like our disgustingly fucking right wing lunatic guy trying to build or taking $650 million of taxpayer money to build a private spa. No, we're not talking about that kind of idiot. We're talking about the liberal government budget.
Federal,
okay?
Yeah.
Federal budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you would think, these wacky tax and spend liberals, giving money all away to the poor people who don't want to work for it. That's what we hear about them all the time, right? How much have they given for the Canadian Disability Benefit? Let's take a look. I don't know. I can't quite make that out. Can you want to read that for me now?
The budget 2024 announced funding of $6.1 billion over 6 years, beginning in 2024 to 2025, and $1.4 billion annually ongoing for a new Canada Disability Benefit. This will result in $2,400 a year or $200 a month per person. Eligibility, because this isn't just everyone gets money. This is, we're going to make you go through hoops. Eligibility for this $200 a month for disabled folks will be based on the disability tax credit, with an estimated 600,000 people eligible. The program will only be fully implemented in 2028 at the $1.4 billion level. So I mentioned Mike Harris because of ODSP. And so stuff like the Canada Disability Budget is meant to shore up things such as ODSP. And just rates for any of these social services, no matter what level of government, is insulting and dooming people to abject poverty.
Yeah.
Given the issues that we've already talked about with housing and food insecurity, $200 a month. From ODSP, there used to be the, I don't know if they still have it, the $250 a month special diet allowance. Mm-hmm. Even though the ODSP rate has been abysmal for ages, you had to prove that you needed $250 a month for food extra. But realistically, after you paid housing expenses and medications, like prescriptions largely were covered, but there's so many more medical expenses than just prescriptions. Yeah. You had to prove that you were worthy of $250 a month for a special diet.
Yeah.
And this doesn't even approach that. So this is just basically saying we know that if you're disabled in this country, you have such a higher risk of being impoverished, and we are gonna do so little about it that we're just gonna be fucking insulting you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's yeah, like it's hard to believe that it's not an insult, right? Like they're looking you in the face like this and doing this.
It's
to
so
the
out of touch. Like, how much could a banana cost, Michael? $10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And and it gets even worse. Like, Freeland defends budget measures as premiers push back on federal involvement. Now, there's a few different little layers to this. Okay, I had some of the points here queued up on the phone here. On Sunday, Freeland, who presented the federal budget just this Tuesday, said that the national government needs to push ahead on such issues as housing, and she was extremely optimistic premiers would choose to cooperate. Now, let's keep in mind that a lot of premiers are conservative and currently, and like Alberta, Ontario, two very big ones, Saskatchewan. So some of your most powerful premiers or like premiers with the largest populations and most amount of people in this country, not Saskatchewan, but Alberta and Ontario, of course. A lot of people in both those provinces. And, they are purposefully sticks in the mud to any liberal government. Like they are they're not, conservatives have shown that they are completely unwilling to cooperate with anything that is remotely, left of hunting the poor for sport,
Yeah. They don't want the liberals to have a win. Even if the conservatives also win, they don't want the liberals to be tied to a win. So they will cut off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah, exactly.
In lieu of being able to hunt the poor for sport.
Yeah. So, I to say that you're extremely optimistic that the premiers will get on board. I don't know what it takes to finally say, like, fuck them. You're standing in the way of having a functioning government and having, and giving people appropriate representation and protecting their interests as Canadians and as your constituents. So several premiers have pushed back against the federal government in recent months, and again after the budget was released, on the grounds that some measures touch on provincial jurisdiction. In a letter released Friday by the Council of the Federation, which represents the 13 leaders of the provinces and territories, premiers said Ottawa should have consulted them more ahead of the budget. And that's fair. That's a reasonable complaint. Okay, I wish we were consulted. And that's like, from the verbiage here, seems to be a bit of a general consensus. This isn't just a conservative versus liberals in charge of the federal government right now kind of thing. This is worded at least in a broad spectrum. And but when it comes to the individual critiques, however, here we have, my initial thoughts about the federal budget are that they are overtaxing, overspending, or overborrowing and interfering in provincial affairs, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said earlier this week. Of course, this is how are you not bored of this? How are people not bored of this at this point where you're constantly hearing overspending, overborrowing, while you lose. It seems like any amount of spending is overspending.
Yeah.
But, and you're talking about, our government is getting deeper in debt. You know what? All the governments are. Money is fucking imaginary. So as long as all the most powerful world governments are increasing the debt that they owe to each other and maintaining a baseline for that, the system's just going to continue to function that way. So,
and anyone who says that they want government to function as a business has no fucking business.
Governments aren't business. That's just not like, businesses in capitalism are designed to exploit people. Your government should not be exploiting you.
Yeah.
And if you advocate for that, I don't know. I think you got some problems. I think you should have some a moment of self-reflection. Perhaps.
And it's also like a sign of where we're at in the death throes of capitalism, where we can't even point to successful business models necessarily right now. Because of, like vulture capitalism, for example, like these vulture capitalists who invest in a company with the intention of artificially inflating the price and then dismantling it wholesale. Like, it has nothing to do with having a functional company. It is everything to do with extracting as much wealth as possible and then leaving someone else holding the bag.
Yeah.
And so you want to run your
take as much as you can, give nothing back.
Yeah.
Just be an absolute sponge, an absolute parasite. Take. And
so no, don't run government like that.
Yeah. And and continuing the privatization of things like that is essentially making the government de facto just private businesses when they start running all these important things, right? But yeah, this one made me laugh because it's a good thing, but it's also laughable at the same time in a number of ways. One of the changes is the federal government has also faced some opposition on what was perhaps the most prominent measure revealed on Budget Day. I don't know if you would say this is the most prominent. It seems like that's a funny word for that to me. But this is from the same CBC article. The changes to Canada's capital gains tax rules. The government has proposed raising, and this isn't even an official thing. This is just what they put in the budget. It's not law yet. Raising the inclusion rate to 67% on capital gains above $250,000 for individuals.
Yeah.
That is, as far as tax brackets are concerned, when you're talking about capital gains tax, like passive income, investment income, that's a pittance. That is a small number. Like, you have people who are making well and above $250,000 on that, by the way, and they're going to pay the same tax rate as somebody who's at $250,000. Because this seems to be where the cap is. This is the max. Now, let me remind you that, back in the 1950s and, 60s, glory days of being working class and capitalist, or in capitalist society, in this side of the ocean at least, high tax rates were like 90%. If you were in the upper bracket, you were being taxed at 90%. Mm-hmm. Okay? So to say that 67% on income that you didn't even really do anything to get. Mm-hmm. It's just it's investment income. It's passive income. You own stock that you sold. Mm-hmm. That would fall under capital gains tax. Yep. So you're not talking about the money you made by going to work and working a job. Mm-hmm. Essentially, some people do treat this as a job somehow, contributing nothing to society. Essentially, but moving dollars around for their own benefit. Yeah. The government, 21st century winner takes all economy. This is Freeland, by the way, quoting this. The 21st century winner takes all economy is making those at the very top richer, while too many middle class Americans are struggling, Freeland said Sunday, adding the government was asking. Sorry, while middle-class Canadians are struggling. Did I say Americans?
You said Americans.
Sorry, yeah. While too many middle-class Canadians are struggling, Freeland said Sunday, adding the government was asking wealthy Canadians to pay their fair share. Now, it's so funny because, she's talking some sort of, that sounds like big game. That sounds like good language, right? Yeah. But I'm sorry, 67% on $250K on capital gains is your big win there? Come on, get serious. We're supposed to actually believe this is rich people paying their fair share when they still enjoy some of the lowest tax rates in the entire world right here in Ontario. Fuck off. It is so silly.
And yet, the Conservatives will scream bloody murder about even this.
Oh, and they have.
Yeah.
The day this was announced, so many people on Twitter acting like they were going to leave Canada. Like, okay, anonymous person on Twitter, I'm sure you have $250K in capital gains to worry about. You're going to be so affected by this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greetings from the Russian bot factory there that you're working at.
Legit. And that's the thing too, is like anytime someone talks about increasing taxes on the wealthy, there's that threat of like, oh, well, that just means businesses will leave. Bitch, they're already offshoring and moving work
they
to
pay
AI.
as little as they can, as much as they can. Anyway. Businesses are just going to leave. They're going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
We might as well try and put ourselves in a position where if and when they do leave,
Yeah.
the people that are still here can
Have something.
And run a country and run a society.
Have running water.
Yeah. Because at that point you can just say, all right, go.
Like,
We don't give a shit. We're
and
going to be fine
that's the
without
thing
you.
is that, I've heard so often the argument of like, what do you mean they should just go? Then blah, 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 blah. Like, then there'll be no industry in Canada. Then there'll be...
Trust me, if every billionaire got up and left this country right now, there's going to be plenty of talented, smart people that can easily fill their shoes. You're not that fucking special, guys.
I'm just thinking about Lionel Hutz imagining a world without lawyers. And
Yeah. World without CEOs.
Yeah.
But even then, like if there's suddenly that power vacuum, right, where you suddenly had no CEOs in this country, and oh my God, all the top-notch business talent, whatever will we do?
Yeah.
One of those executives will step into the role, and guess what will change? Nothing. Nothing.
Well, like,
why? Because anybody can do those kinds of jobs.
Yeah. And like, let's say that, talking about the big corporations, oh, well, what if Loblaws decides to just up and leave? Loblaws prevents a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah. Places
Loblaws has competitors that can
places
fill
like
the void.
Aldi will then move in because they won't have Loblaws standing in the way.
I thought that was supposed to be like the beauty of having options in this, free market competing economy,
Yeah.
right? It's so funny how no, we got to have that profit incentive so people are inspired to compete, yet those same people are creating the conditions where they do not have to compete.
Yeah.
So it's all,
They're lying to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, the fact that like the liberals, the supposed, just spend crazy liberals and with their high taxes,
Yeah.
the carbon tax isn't even like anything serious as far as I'm concerned. And then this capital gains tax, hardly anything serious, right? And then what they're proposing to spend isn't even that much. It's less than ever.
Yeah.
In terms of investing back into this country, investing back into the people.
In terms of having an investment back into people that will actually have a chance to see dividends in a generation. Because, like when you're investing in people, you're probably not going to see the benefits right away. Because that's the nature of people, especially people coming
Planting
out of
a seed,
Well, especially people coming out of like a pandemic and all sorts of, physical and mental health. Especially, how many Canadians are without family doctors, without therapists, without yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Because of either lack of access or lack of finances. Like, you need to give people time to improve, and so you need to spend money and wait and let people heal and thrive. That's, for example, why Doug Ford immediately canceled the fucking UBI after a year.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little bit.
That's a good
for people to
reminder.
be able
Yes,
to
the
thrive.
successful UBI pilot project.
Yeah.
And I underscore successful as in it was doing the exact things that the program was hoping to achieve.
Yeah.
People weren't frivolously spending the money. It was just improving the quality of their lives, getting a certain level of dignity, and allowing them, perhaps even given enough time, to economically advance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which then they would pay more taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be doing jobs that contribute to society. All these things that you were complaining about that they couldn't do before, or they'd now be able to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, because funny, people are somehow more productive when they have stability.
Yeah, when they're not driven to, like, you know, the edge of sanity by constantly having their brains soaked in cortisol, you know, and like being able to eat right and get a decent night's sleep,
Yeah.
you know.
Because they're not living like 8 people to a fucking bedroom in a
Yeah.
rooming house, because they could actually afford some place with some sense of privacy and sanity.
Yeah. And, you know, everybody should have that dignity. But of course, you know, that was working too well for conservatives and Doug Ford's liking, and he canceled that as one of his first actions in government. And, you know, this is so like looking at everything he's done thereafter, including the spa, including, you know, clashing heads with the federal government about budget and taxes and things like that. You know, I generally wonder what it is with these, like, more working class conservatives. Rich assholes, I can understand. You got a material connection to protecting conservatives because of your class interest. You know, you're selfish and awful. I get that, you know. But like the working class conservatives that really think that this guy is doing them favors, I really got to wonder where the hell you're getting that from, guys.
Temporarily embarrassed millionaires
Yeah.
who need to hold on to their bootstrap fantasies.
It really makes me wonder. It's you know, but yeah, we were gonna get to.
I think that we should not this week.
We were
because-
going to get to some stuff about Iran and Israel, and not even talking so much about like reporting on the war, because I don't think that's just the kind of thing we're meant to
Qualified.
do here. You know,
other than just speaking of abject horror, like
just gawking and going, my God, you know, like what else can we say?
Yeah.
But what we can comment on is and reflect upon is what a lot of the news media reporting on it has been like, and the verbiage they choose to use, and why they choose to use that verbiage. So that's going to be something that we're going to be covering on next week's show. I had some of it queued up, but you know how it goes. We had to push the Doug Ford stuff to this week, so onward the shit rolls downhill. You got anything left to add?
No.
All right. Well,
Now that we're deflated, but
Yeah.
at the same time have gotten those things off our chest, so
Yeah.
we can perhaps get a bit of a better night's sleep tonight.
and I noticed we had like no live viewers last week or this week, but that's okay because a lot of people watched afterwards. So thank you for watching. And for those of you that did watch afterwards, feel free to, you know, drop a comment or send me a message or something like that. If you think we should do the live show at a different time, I'm open to ideas. We're not married to Sunday nights, you know, or at least Sunday nights at 8:30. You know, we could be flexible.
Yeah, somewhat flexible. I mean,
Somewhat.
that's why I do the podcast in my pajamas, because we're at home and it's Sunday night.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dressing up for this.
I'm sorry, the Batman onesie qualifies as dressing up. I'm just saying.
And
Just
last week's did not.
What were you wearing? The sweater?
No, the flowing 2-piece.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was wonderful. Yeah. See, what do you mean you're not getting dressed up for this?
Well,
You're a liar. You're a liar.
okay, so 1 layer, maybe 2.
There you go. All right, so that is our show. Let's get the theme music back rolling again. And that's next Sunday, 8:30, somewhere around there. We'll post about it in advance. If you got any requests, anything you want to talk about, let us know. Maybe even arrange to have you call in. Follow, like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much. This has been The Rough Report.